Shalom v'milchama. You'll soon learn what those words mean, and it's in part a Hebrew joke. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how I want you to make your vocabulary cards for the class. And before I show you how to do it, if your question is, well, do I have to do them? You don't have to, but it's 5% of your grade. 5%. So if you want to throw away 5%, that's up to you. Now, another question is going to be, well, can I do them any way I want? And the answer to that is no, you can't. Even if you've studied another language and you came up with a system for doing vocab cards, you gotta do it my way. And now, it's if you've ever had me, you know that I'm not exactly fluent in English, but I have studied Hebrew, Greek, French, Aramaic, German, and Akkadian, an ancient Babylonian language. And over the course of doing this, I learned some very, very good ways to make your own vocabulary cards. And I also learned some things which don't work very well. And let me tell you right now, one thing that does not work is to buy a box of vocabulary cards that has Hebrew and English printed on it already. Then you want to pull those out and stick them with your stuff. It really doesn't work. Part of the reason for that is, in my textbook, which I wrote, I'm giving you particular definitions of words, and they might have some different definitions, and it takes a lot less time just to make your vocabulary cards than it does to try to match them to some other system which is out there. Now, I have reasons for wanting you to make vocabulary cards also. Part of the language learning process is writing things out, and when you write out vocabulary cards, it's going to really help you as far as learning the language. It's going to really help you when it comes to studying for tests, those kinds of things. So I have a particular way I'm going to want you to do it. First of all, everybody will be buying a box of approximately 1,000 blank business cards. The post office actually is going to be selling these things, and I think it's going to be under $15. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's going to be under $10. But anyway, they'll cut these things up for you, and but that's the size you need. In the past, they used to sell these things called Viz Ed cards. They're a slightly different size. These are almost impossible to get anymore, and they're also very expensive now. They didn't used to be. But this is what I did my vocabulary cards on, was this kind of thing. So to start off here, I have my sample vocabulary card. And I'm going to show you how I want you to do it. I'm going to explain to you why I want you to do it this way. I mean, even the way you flip it, I have specifics on that. And well, let's just start. Let's say there's a term, and what's great about this term is it's actually not that hard to remember. Mem Lamed Kaf, which is like MLK. It means king. Aha, sounds really good there. So, now Hebrew, you're going to learn real quick, goes from right to left. And you have to use the script. And I want this stuff is called pointed. Now, at this point, you might not have any idea what I mean by points. Now, when Hebrew was originally written, all they wrote was consonants. And then about 1,000 years ago, a bunch of Jewish scholars added in a bunch of little dots to represent vowels. And if you think, well, you can't read Hebrew because you couldn't have read Hebrew originally because it didn't write out vowels. Come on, you guys text, right? Come on, point me. All right, so you're going to need to do it script. You're going to need to do it pointed. So the Hebrew word for king is melech. And the first letter looks roughly like this. The second letter looks kind of like that. And the third letter, once you go out there and start learning script, you might find there's about 3 or 4 different ways to write the K letter, which is called a kaf. And so the third letter, I'm going to do it this way. Looks like that. Now, I'm going to also write the vowels in there. That's an E vowel, sound. And that's an E vowel. Now, one thing that I did in your vocabulary lists that you'll see in the textbook is, see, most Hebrew words, the accent is on the last syllable. Or syllable, okay? So, but, oh, this has another, that's a silent vowel that's there. We have a lot of silent vowels in English, too. But sometimes if an accent isn't on the last syllable, I will put a little accent mark. And I recommend that you do that. That way you know that's pronounced Melech, not Melech. So Melech, not Melech. So here, this is what it looks like. This is a little bit bigger than your little cards that you're going to be doing. Now, in any particular lesson, you're often going to have 20 vocabulary words. It's a lot of vocabulary. By the end of the year, you will know most words, actually probably all the words which occur 50 times or more in the Old Testament in Hebrew. And you could read a lot of biblical narrative with that kind of vocabulary. Now, so here what we've got is here's your card that you've written up, and you've got Melech on there. Now, you've got other vocabulary in there, and I want you to do this in order when you make them. I'll explain later why. So, if we've got multiple vocabulary cards here, one of the things that I'm going to want you to do is in the top left-hand corner, I'm going to want you to put like that's your first word in the list, second, third, fourth, etc. for that particular lesson. Also, on the first card, I want you to write the lesson number. So let's say this is lesson 3. And so I'm going to put that on here. That's a 1. We'll pretend that was the first word. Lesson 3. By the way, I think I might actually give you the word Melech in lesson 2. Lesson 1 is the alphabet. Lesson 2 here. So this, what this does is, you see, the human brain can learn a lot of stuff. It learns it kind of in order, and you can remember a lot of things in order. My first year Greek textbook, when I took Greek, if you wanted to look up what a vocabulary word meant in the back of the book, it would actually tell you what lesson it was in, because then you would see it in kind of the order. It can be really useful to go through a vocabulary in order, but then you can go and shuffle it, put it back, and go through it in a very different order. And also, when you're doing that, you could go, I know this one, I know this, I don't know this one, so you can separate it out. And so the ones you don't know, then you go through those again. And then you go through those again, and eventually you don't have any more to go through because you know all your vocabulary. All right, so this is what I want the front to look like. And so if you're doing lesson 4, then, you know, for lesson 4, is this showing up on, I guess it's still showing up on the board. Let's say, oh, give me a Hebrew word, shulchan. Shulchan. And you know, there's a couple of different A's, and I keep forgetting which of the A's it is, but don't worry about that. So this one you might do lesson 4. You don't need to put that on every card. If you want to, go ahead. But you don't need to put that on every card. Now, let me show you how I want you to deal with the English. And I want you to only, except for like the word lesson, I only want Hebrew on this side, and on the back side, I only want English. So Hebrew, is this, yeah, I guess it's in it. So Hebrew is side 1, English side 2. Now, I have a particular way I want you to deal with this. And if you do it wrong, your carpal tunnel surgery will occur a lot earlier in your life. So I want you to have it like this and flip it over like that. I don't want you going this way. I want you to do that. And then, so here I would just put king. King. Okay? So, and you go, well, why do you want us to do it that way rather than flipping it sideways? Because it's a lot easier to handle with your fingers. Now, I'm going to try this here just with, it's a little hard to grab, but if I was dealing with this and I go, Melech, king, Melech, king. Let me grab some Greek vocabulary cards from the last millennium here and just show you why I'm doing it that way. And I need to replace rubber bands. So if I'm looking at this here, and this word is balo, so I can easily flip it back and forth. Balo, to throw. Blepo, to see. You see how I can flip it like that? And when you flip it like that, it's right side up. I don't know, can you see that? You see that's Greek, and if you flip it like that, it's right side up. It's a lot easier. Imagine if you're doing this and you're going, twisting your wrist every time. See, you can go through and you go, okay, I know gnosko. I know gnosko means to know. So you can go through, but if you're going through quickly, and I mean, when you're first learning it, agero, to raise. See how easy that is with your fingers in the thing there, as opposed to, break your wrist. All right, so you're going, maybe once you're going through them a while, then you only flip out the ones that you don't know and you put them in another pile or something like that. Now, you might be able to see here that I have, let me see if I can fan this out right. You can probably see I've got numbers, a bunch of different numbers and stuff on these things. Okay, this was, what year did I take Greek initially? Summer of '84, so, long before anybody of you were even thought about. Now, something else that I do with the cards is this, and trust me, you really want to do this. So you've made up a bunch of vocabulary cards. By the way, I'd be showing you with Hebrew cards, except for I'm doing this at home and my Hebrew cards are at school. So you might see that what I've got on this, you see there's a line over here, and then I've got like different colors going up like that. So what I do is, like for lesson 1, I have that in one color. I hope I did this right for Greek. For Greek, I've got, okay, that's lesson 5. Lesson 5, I wrote that there. But you can see with the different lessons, and I've got those numbers up there. Now, I put a stripe on like the top left-hand side, and that really helps me keep the cards oriented. And if you get out, just grab a black marker or something like that, and you just kind of go down the edge there. If you make it kind of thick, even when you pull out an individual card, you'll be able to see that. So you might be able to see that. It can be really helpful if you drop your box of cards. But for each lesson, and I progressively do that, I actually use different colors, and I have it going over, like, dun, 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 dun. Okay, I guess I'm not in front of the camera here. See how I have different colors for each lesson going over? Now, eventually you get to the point where that doesn't work. Just realized I have an electric guitar plugged in. Let's see. Looks like it's way out of tune now. Little break there. All right, let's get back. Let's get back to Hebrew. So you'll see that after a while you got to come back, and as long as you use different colors, or I often would use multiple colored kinds of things. Now, you might also see that I've got rubber bands around various sections here. A lot of the reason for that is I think the first time I had the problem was I wasn't using rubber bands. I have 3 sons. Now they're all a lot older than y'all, but they didn't used to be. And I think one of them took my vocab card box and dumped it upside down. And then, I probably dropped it another time. So I learned to put rubber bands around various sections. So what we've got here then, let's say if you're doing, say, a thin blue stripe, I mean, that'll show up on the top edge there. Or if you're looking at a box, where'd my black marker go? Okay, so if let's say this is your box of cards here, you're going to have some kind of stripe on the top here, and then you're going to go, for that lesson, it's going to be one color, for the next lesson, another color, for the next lesson, another color, etc. Okay? Now, once you have vocabulary cards and you want to work on your vocabulary, the reason for the color coding, the reason for the numbering, etc. is this. So you've gone through and you've made your pile. Okay, these are ones I know, these are ones I don't know. So then you work on the ones you don't know. Then you decide, you take them and you shuffle them all. And that's another way of working hard on or learning your vocabulary. Shuffle them all there. My iPad just slipped a little bit. So you could shuffle them again and again, and then you pull out the ones you know and you don't know. But then it's really useful for your brain to go back, stick them in order, and then if you go back, stick them in order, and go through them that way, then that'll help solidify your knowledge of the vocabulary. All right, so does this, I hope this makes sense to you on how I want you to do your vocabulary cards. Remember, Hebrew on one side, English on the other. Make it so it flips like this. Okay, make it so it flips like this. Don't write an English kind of pronunciation on the back. Do not do that. I want you to learn real quick that that's a m, o, k, and that those are E vowels. Now, those different vowels, you're going to learn the consonants, you're going to learn the vowels very early in the semester, like second day, second day. You're going to need, by the way, the alphabet, I'm going to want you to know the alphabet for the second day of class. I'm going to want you to know how to write it out in script, and I'm going to want you to know the typed out thing. So what you might do also is make yourself a set of cards and with the alphabet, and try to be a good artist. And maybe you could write out on one side the script, on the other side try to be a good artist and make it look like the typed out version. Okay. Another way of doing it is you can put like a mem on one side, and on the other side you can write out M-E-M so you go, oh, that's how to pronounce it. And so so that is another thing that you could do. So you don't have to use, you don't have to just do vocabulary on your cards. You could do a lot, I suppose I have to turn that right side up. You could do a lot of other stuff as well with it. So here, like I've got different verb forms and other things. I assume I've got just the alphabet. Diphthongs. I've got diphthongs there, you diphthong. So for Greek, I've got the alphabet capitalized, and Greek has capitalized and lowercase letters. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. I would suggest after a while you make up an additional list which is verbs only. Because verbs, for most people, they're a bit more abstract. I mean, Melech, king, you could picture a guy with a crown on or something. But actions don't always lend themselves to brain pictures. So verbs are harder to learn. The textbook that I used when I was a first-year student had about 280 different verbs. I do not know how many verbs I have in my textbook, although I do have a way of finding that out. But anyway, this is basically how I want you to do vocabulary cards. Remember, script Hebrew and the dots there. Now, you're going to find out that as we get just a little ways into the semester, the vowels, the way they did the dots for vowels inside of words is extremely inconsistent. So the emphasis is on learning the consonants. Vowels, oops, I forgot. I missed something here. Yeah. The vowels, I want you to know how to pronounce the vowels just so that it's handy. But approximately half of the material in the textbook where I'm bringing up Hebrew, I don't write out those vowels. But I want you to have that so you don't just go, oh, this mulk. No, I want you to know that that's melech. Okay. Well, I hope this makes sense. If not, you should know how to contact me by email. Barakot, that's blessing.